Okay, so we've got some sad and upsetting news from the world of rugby league, and that is that the Salford Red Devils have gone bust. They've been wound up. HM Revenue and Customs, obviously through the High Court, put a petition in for a winding up order over unpaid taxes. That's not including the other debts that the club obviously owes. And they've been successful in that winding up petition. The High Court said yes, they are now being wound up. They have now, as of today, ceased to exist as a going concern. Now, fan groups that I've seen on social media say they're going to rebuild with the Phoenix Club, and fair play to them. Other sports and other clubs in other sports, and even in rugby league, have done that and have been reborn as Phoenix clubs from the ashes. But this is like over 150 years of history. I think it's 152. Might be 154, but over 150 years of history as a club in the Salford area in Greater Manchester has gone. And this is a club that predates the split between what was the Northern Union and Rugby Union in 1895. So rugby has been played by Salford for over 150 years of either code, and that has ended. And we do obviously again have to ask questions over the financial state of the game, absolutely, but also over the governance, because this is not the first time a club has really hit the wall. We've seen Bradford with a couple of administrations and Widnes obviously in recent times, and we know Featherstone have ongoing financial problems as well. The Toronto Wolfpack experiment, and of course what happened with Cornwall. So this is the latest in a long line of clubs with financial issues. The fact that they've actually died in this way and the winding up order petition has been successful and that they've reached this point is deeply saddening. But questions need to be asked of the RFL and their due diligence and governance processes over many, many years. Many, many years. Now, I'm not an expert on what's been happening at Salford, I will admit that, but there's been fan protests for some time, and last season there was a lot of problems in even getting a team together to take the field to fulfil their fixtures. Players were going unpaid. There was a lot of uncertainty. They were getting paid late, regularly, and of course the non-playing staff as well were having late payments to their wages. This winding up order now means that people have lost their jobs. Both playing and non-playing staff have lost their jobs. Now, clubs are still recruiting players for next season for the Super League and the restructured Championship. And even over in Australia, again, clubs are still recruiting players for next season. And of course, there's some overseas players who may want to return to Australia and New Zealand and try and get a contract in either the NRL or in State Cup competitions. But this is something that shouldn't be happening just, 3 weeks pretty much before Christmas. This is a real kick in the teeth, not only for the players and non-playing staff, but their families and the community of Salford as well. This is something that could have been very, very easily avoided if better governance had been in place when the current ownership group, well now the former ownership group, bought the club. They were never suitable owners from what I can gather. And I think there's been issues around the stadium and trying to basically flog the stadium off for development. This reminds me a lot of what happened to Bury in the Football League in 2019. A lot of what happened all those years ago, 6 years ago or so, in the Football League with Bury, with again capitalist vultures, capitalist investment, those kind of asset stripping vultures, and that's pretty much what's happened from what I can gather. But the ongoing concern is what's happening with Featherstone, because there's been reports coming out of Featherstone Rovers that they have also been late paying wages for players and non-playing staff as well, and that will be the next cause of concern. There's been a couple of reports coming out about late payment of wages, and again that raises questions about the financial state of the game. Now, towards the end of last season, it was announced that League One and the Championship would merge into this kind of super-sized league of 21 teams, of which Salford were planning to enter as a team. We've seen what's happened with Newcastle as well, with the Thunder having basically nearly gone bust, having to basically reform and get an operating licence in place. I think Salford's a different kettle of fish. I can't see how, and I know the fans basically on social media said, look, there's a big drive to get a fan-led kind of rebirth of the club from grassroots level and start again as a Phoenix club. I can't see how they're going to be granted an operating licence in the space of a couple of months before the season starts. We're already into pre-season. There'll be a Christmas break, and then after Christmas and New Year, pre-season really begins in earnest. And they're potentially they could get an operating licence for this coming season in 2026. I don't see that as likely, but again, we have to ask questions of the governance and the due diligence when it comes to ownership, because this is not an isolated incident with Salford. Obviously, we have seen what's happened with the Bradford Bulls and the Widnes Vikings over the years, the Toronto Wolfpack debacle. What happened at Cornwall when they withdrew. The London Scholars withdrawing from League One a couple of years ago, going down to amateur status. And look, people say, I'm a London Broncos fan, people will say, Rugby League doesn't work down south. But I tell you now, there's 8 amateur clubs that play in a London league. And of course, we have got the London Broncos. We have got the London Scholars, who've been professional. But the fact that they're not getting the financial support is concerning, and clubs up north are not getting the financial support, which is concerning. The TV deal at Super League level, the money's being stretched even thinner now this coming season with an expanded league when the TV deal is up for negotiation in 2027. So that TV money's being spread even thinner. Clubs are reporting operating losses that are quite considerable, and it's very, very concerning where the sport's heading financially. And people are questioning the involvement and the grading criteria that IMG have been brought in to do, and how they're going about structuring the Super League, getting rid of direct promotion and relegation, which has divided opinion. And now, obviously, Salford didn't even put in an application for an operating licence for the Super League for next season. A lot of people could sort of see this coming, but the fact it's basically 3 weeks pretty much short of Christmas, that's gut-wrenching for all those associated with the club, those who work and volunteer at the club, and of course the players as well, and the fans, just the fans who've supported this club through thick and thin, have protested over the ownership and the RFL's really poor governance of the game. And this is a dark, dark day. But there we go. The Salford Red Devils have gone bust. It was announced a few hours ago, and it's another dark day for rugby league in this country, which is deeply, deeply concerning. Anyway, from me for now, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on what has transpired in the comment section below, and I will have some more content for you all. Hopefully better news for you all very, very soon.